I kind of like the responsibility that I got right early on as an intern. Also, I was surprised at the amount of responsibility I got, and it was very challenging at first. But that's part of what appealed. That was what appealed to me. That hey, here's a challenging problem, and seeing everyone say, okay, you know what, let's focus on this problem. Let's focus on solving this problem. Calls going on at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock at night, and then we're finally solving that problem. That was just an amazing experience. And when I joined, I had basically no experience in software development. So just learning how things work in this industry was just mind blowing.
With the first 6 months, I felt that way because I was not working on a single technology, and for me, every 3 months learn a new technology. But after that 6 months mark, when I was going to reuse the same set of technologies, it just became much more interesting because it was a new problem statement, a new approach, a new design altogether that needed, and the basics remains the same, right? Same with Profile Hub, new language of Elixir, not worked on it before. The first month was very frustrating because tough to write code, right? Not easy for someone coming from a non-functional language background. Second month onwards, I just wanted to write code in Elixir. So yeah, and with Data Fabric, it's a whole new set of technologies altogether, which we've not, I think, used at IDfy at all in the past, except for a few. So that is, I think that's the interesting part about when I keep working on new technologies, new platforms, like that is what is driving me. The unknowns, the idea of figuring things up from the scratch.
So one thing that as someone working in tech, you always like to be working on new stuff, right? And the new and shiny is always something which you go towards. And I like that here you have the ability to work on new stuff now and then. But I will also say that this is the first time where I've actually enjoyed myself while also not working on new things. Simply because the problems that we're solving are interesting. Okay, and that's something which I didn't think I would have gotten into.
I had not really thought about staying here for so long, but it's more about the way my growth has been in IDfy. It was never stagnant. It was a linear growth. Usually people leave the companies, just to get an exponential growth in salary or in your knowledge-wise. But when it came to IDfy, it was never stagnant. So I never thought about leaving. Every time, there was something new coming up, and I was getting good opportunities in the company, so I never thought about leaving.
3 years have been crazy. Crazy, like when you come in a company, which is a startup, and this being my first job in an IT firm as such, and then you don't know how a startup works, right? You have been usually told by your elders, your seniors, how does MNCs work and all those things. So it was a completely different experience, a very good experience actually. You get a lot of exposure, a lot of things. It's just that you need to have that passion, that thirst to learn new things. If you have them, then it's a great experience to learn new things, grow yourself in a very short span of time. So that is what I have been doing. Like, I don't think so I would have gained so much experience in an MNC if I was working for like even 5 or 6 years, which I have gained in 3 years in IDfy.
It's very collaborative. Okay, so everything you do ends up being to some extent collaborative. Even if you're not, it starts from the design part of things actually. So even when you've just made your design, you have a discussion with your team members. You have technical discussions with people who aren't in your team so that you get full feedback and everything. Discussion. Then the actual development you might be doing yourself, but then when it comes to bring this to actual production, you talk to people. You talk to people in the review process. You talk to the QA team who's testing it, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty collaborative.
My Mondays are primarily start of the day, couple of team catch-ups, right? So again, you're coming off a long weekend. Fridays we don't do any meetings per se. It's only for tech sessions and stuff. So Monday is doing all of those catch-ups, making sure that for the next week, the coming week and the next week, we are aligned for whatever deliverables, all of that. And then the 12 and post is primarily spent again doing development work. Not keep any meetings actually after 12 so that you get that good 4 or 5 hours of dev time. Fridays are actually very chill at IDfy. So again, like I mentioned, we don't do any meetings in the morning at Friday. So you're okay to start a little later in the day. Then you do an hour and a half of dev time. 2 to 5, 2 to 5, 2 to 4, 5. We do a tech collaborative session wherein we are discussing new technologies, we are discussing new design patterns, we are discussing new processes, right, within tech, outside of tech. We are understanding IDfy's business, what new has happened at IDfy, what different pods are doing. We do karaoke sessions. So a bunch of those things, and then it either ends with the entire team going out for dinner or just a few drinks and then off.
Fridays are a little more chill. So normally we do releases on Thursday night. Friday mornings are correspondingly, you're a little bit worried to see that, okay, whatever we released yesterday should be fine today. So you have to keep an eye on things. But then as the day goes on, assuming nothing goes super bad, which has only happened a couple of times, we have our tech collaborative meeting, which goes on for 2 hours in the afternoon. That is not really work, but just talking and collaborating with other members of the tech team. That is pretty enjoyable. And then as Friday evening heads on to the night, it's a very relaxed experience, sort of. The morning is a bit more, you're on tenterhooks, but as the day goes on, you get more relaxed.
It wouldn't be something in the company. Actually, we were like last year, it was lockdown, I was at home, and there was a post on LinkedIn by Ashok, and he had appreciated me for my work. So it was the best day because we get appreciation in the company over a period of time, but the CEO appreciating you on a social media platform like LinkedIn is a big thing. So yeah, that was the best day of my life.
I remember this very clearly. It was me, Ashish, Saksham and Sagar, the four of us sitting till 1 a.m. in the night, trying to complete the deployment of video services to production. This was basically for a big demo in the next couple of days, and we could not resolve a particular problem statement, and it was just like you take a 15 minutes break, gather back. We came up with a solution which like worked almost immediately, and we were able to take that live. So that adrenaline rush of sorts in that 15-20 minutes ka window where we were brainstorming and then a solution came out was like, I think like I keep remembering that and probably miss that sometimes when that rush is no longer there because you don't have to work so late.
So when I first started off, I started working on a feature. So to give you a little context, I work on a video KYC, and here one of our things is the unable to verify number, as in each call should be verified. Okay, and we want to get the number of calls that were the percentage of calls rather that were unable to be verified lower and lower. Okay, and that time the number was fairly high and we were trying to reduce it. So I worked on a feature for a month or so related to performing health checks, and eventually when it got implemented, it did bring the percentage points down by a couple. And this was one of my first days when I was actually in the office. Okay, this was around February of March of this year. And so I entered the office that morning. Everyone was like, whoa, numbers are down by 2%, 3%. That moment really clinched it for me. You know, I'm making a difference here, and the things I did had brought value. So yeah, that's one day that sticks out.